presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
RFK Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His documented history pushing dangerous conspiracy theories.
Referred to RFK Jr. as the conspiracy candidate.
That worm. Parasitic worm in his brain.
RFK Jr.'s brainworm.
Very bizarre anti-vaccine rally and
falsely linking vaccines.
His candidacy is an embarrassment.
So Trump comes out with a statement here. Go after Biden. Basically say he's scared to debate RFK.
Mr. Kennedy, thanks very much for joining me this morning.
In this episode, we spend 48 hours on the campaign trail with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a character the mainstream media paints as controversial because of his stance on vaccine mandates and the assertion that the CIA had a part to play in his uncle JFK's death. We take a deep dive with a man that's looking to upset America's two-party system, and if elected, he plans to totally wage war on the establishment as we know it. We talk to him, his supporters, and even a CIA whistleblower to get a better idea of Bobby's platform and what he intends to do if he's elected the 47th president of the United States. But first, let's learn his origin story. Born to the famous Kennedy clan, Bobby experienced adversity early in life when he saw both his uncle and his dad get assassinated by the time he was 14. Shortly after his father's death, Bobby had some turbulent teenage years in which he got expelled from 2 different schools, got arrested for marijuana possession, and began a 14-year-long addiction with heroin. For most of his career, he's been an environmental lawyer that has successfully sued companies that harm people and pollute the environment. He's won multi-billion-dollar settlements against Monsanto, and through his organization Riverkeeper, he's contributed towards cleaner drinking water for New Yorkers. After watching this episode, in which we get inside access to Kennedy more than any media team yet, you can determine for yourself if Bobby Kennedy is the dangerous madman that mainstream media makes him out to be, or if you think potentially he's the candidate for Americans to rally around. Let's get this thing started. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in Denver, Colorado, and today we're interviewing presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And guys, the America that we're in right now is an America in crisis. It's arguably more divisive than it's ever been, maybe other than the Civil War. We have a debt that is spiraling out of control, $35 trillion, more than 6 figures per American of national debt. We have inflation. Bill. Homelessness is out of control, and we have these government agencies that aren't working in our best interest. The people that are in charge of the food are the ones that are ensuring that there's poison in our food. The people that are supposed to be regulating Big Pharma are profiting from Big Pharma. We're gonna get on to that later today. It's with great pleasure in this channel that we're gonna be interviewing Robert F. Kennedy. We would like to interview all of the candidates. So the Trump team, we'd love to talk to you. I know you're gonna be in Milwaukee for the RNC. The Biden team, we'd love to talk to you too. We wanna spend a day with you, get to know you, and see what you're about. We're with the Bobby Kennedy right now. Where are we right now?
We're in Conifer, Colorado.
And we're about to zip line. That's why we got this get up on. This is a cool way to raise funds.
It's one of our outings we do. We've done a bunch of sailing outings. We've done falconry. We've done this one. And
if this is your first time hearing RFK Jr., you might be wondering why his voice is like that. You're not the only one. Let's explain.
Your voice is raspy. Why don't you explain to our audience why?
When I was 42 years old, I got struck with a disease, a neurological disease, an injury called spasmodic dystonia, and it makes my voice tremble. We're not allowed to make money from large donors. The largest donation we can accept is $6,600. Biden administration, the Trump administration can get $1 million per donor.
How is that allowed?
It's a loophole. The parties are allowed to raise unlimited amounts of money. The individual candidates like myself are only allowed to raise maximum of $6,600 per donor.
Let's bring you up to speed on the history of third-party candidates in the United States. The last candidate to win the election from a non-mainstream party was Abraham Lincoln in 1864 when he won the ticket on the newly formed Republican Party. However, that's not to say that independents haven't made a strong show in recent years, like Ross Perot did in 1992 when he captured nearly 19% of the vote. One reason why guys like Bobby Kennedy have surged in popularity is due to what Americans perceive as the uniparty. That's the term for the idea that although Democrats and Republicans show disagreement over social issues, they vote almost unanimously when it comes to things like war, raising their own salaries, and increased surveillance of the American people. While many state that a vote for a third-party contender is a wasted vote, others say history proves that victory is possible. possible. With that being said, convincing Americans that he can win will be one of Kennedy's great challenges.
That's why they have billions. President Biden will have $3 billion. Trump will have close to that. We have to raise virtually all of our money from small donors.
Wow.
This is one of the ways that we've developed to make sure that we got good grassroots support. The system is rigged. The rules are written by the incumbents to favor the incumbents and to make sure that independent candidates can't participate in the election. It's not a democratic way to run an election. We just figured out a lot of workaround.
The cool thing about it is it's a movement for the people, by the people, right? No one can say that there's big corporations running this campaign or being your funder.
Yeah.
But what is it like on the campaign trail? To me, it would seem like one of the most difficult jobs you could possibly sign up for. Exhausting, long days.
For me, it's fun. I'm on the road almost every day, but I pace myself. I make sure that I get exercise every day. I make sure that I spend time meditating every day and getting kind of spiritually centered. I don't get spiritually diminished or exhausted. I'm able to have fun with events like this one.
A question my wife had was, you've done so much in your career, and this is a big toll to pay. Why is it worth it to you?
I wasn't sitting around trying to figure out a way to run for president. That idea was not in my head, but I saw what was happening to my country, particularly during the lockdowns. I saw them close 3.3 million businesses. Never been done before, with no scientific citation, no public hearings, no notice and comment rulemaking, all the things that I've been suing governments and corporations for 40 years, all the democratic processes that they're required to use. None of that happened. It was just one bureaucrat who was able just to order us to put on masks when there was no scientific citation, all in violation of the Constitution, of the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment prohibitions that require due process and just compensation before you close somebody's businesses. None of that happened. They shut down jury trials. The Seventh Amendment says very simply, no American shall be denied the right of a trial before a jury of his peers in cases or controversies exceeding $25. There's no pandemic exception. The framers of the Constitution knew all about pandemics. There were two epidemics during the Revolutionary War, a malaria epidemic that decimated the armies of Virginia, and then a smallpox epidemic that shut down the armies of New England at a critical time just when we had conquered Montreal. Benedict Arnold, who was our greatest general, conquered Montreal. He was in the inner city, and he had to withdraw because so many of his troops were down with smallpox, and otherwise Canada today would be part of the United States. Almost every one of the framers who wrote the draft of the Bill of Rights had lost family members or close friends in these epidemics, and yet they did not put an epidemic exception in the Constitution. They didn't write the First Amendment to protect convenience speech. They wrote it to protect the speech that nobody wants to hear. And yet they shut down freedom of speech during the pandemic. During that part, I was heavily censored. Running for president, I'll be able to talk about these issues, and they won't be able to censor me as much. And that, in fact, has happened.
What are the things that if you make it to office, that these are the number 1, 2, and 3 things, the top things that we're going to focus on?
One of the biggest issues is the national debt. It's $34 trillion today. Just the service on that debt costs us more than the military budget. Within 5 years, 50 cents out of every dollar that is collected in taxes is going to go to servicing the debt. In 10 years, 100%. That's existential. The forever wars are existential. They're isolating our country in the world. They're causing, BRICS, which is going to end the American dollar as global reserve currency, which will be devastating. It'll make the Great Depression look like a cakewalk. It's crushing the soul of this country, so we got to end it. Neither of these presidents are able to do that. They presided over it. In 4 short years that each of them were in office, they ran up half of that $34 trillion debt.
Which, to put in perspective for the people back home, it's over 6 figures of debt per American citizen, which is an absurd amount.
Yeah, and in the last 100 days, we added another $1 trillion to it. President Trump, during his 4 years, spent more money than all the presidents before him combined.
When we get to that 10-year mark, if nothing changes now, what's going to happen when more than 100% of our tax income is going just to servicing the debt? What happens to America at that point?
Well, our country at that point would go bankrupt. One of the other existential threats to our country is the polarization. The division in this country, the vitriol, the anger, the poison is worse than any time since the American Civil War. And it's all being amplified by the algorithms on social media. I'm going to run for president without feeding this vitriol. Neither President Trump or President Biden, both of them recognize the problem. But they can't step out of it because they're part of it. Their success as politicians is based upon their capacity to feed that vitriol, to make their followers hate the other guy. I'm going to be respectful to both both these candidates. I'm going to criticize them for their policies. I'm not going to criticize them personally. If I'm successful, Americans are going to forget that they're Democrats or Republicans, and they're all going to remember that they're Americans.
Are you having enough time to listen to music these days, and what's on your playlist, if so?
My favorite music would be classic rock and roll, blues, but I like bluegrass, I like country.
Who are some of your classic rock bands you like?
The Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Cream.
Do the Eagles or CCR do it for you?
CCR is one of my top bands.
And what do you do for fun, or is fun non-existent anymore?
Oh, I have fun every day.
How do you relax?
You know, I play a lot of volleyball with my kids. I play a lot of water sports.
Trump's in the swamp. You can agree there's a lot of swamp activities going on up there. What makes you the man for the job that can go in there, clear it out?
The swamp really is the regulatory agencies, and, you know, particularly since the Citizens United case.
Let's talk about money in American politics. In 2010, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Citizens United, and this has opened the floodgates for money to flow into politics. According to OpenSecrets.org, in the 10 years since Citizens United has passed, over $4.5 billion has gone through our political system. This ruling has allowed elites to bend the rules to their favor. For example, it allows hedge funds to own thousands of single-family homes, while the average American can barely afford one. It allows big pharma to fund puppets that reduce regulations for them, often to the detriment of the American people. In effect, it allows our system to be sold to the highest bidder. And in today's economy, where 56% of Americans can't even afford a $1,000 emergency, much less the money to fund campaigns, it leaves the common man at a severe disadvantage. Folks, last time I checked, the people who serve in government are supposed to be public servants that do things for the people, by the people. But for some reason, these greedy little have forgotten that.
In order to drain the swamp, we have to end that corrupt merger of state and corporate power and return the agencies to their initial job, which is to serve the public interest. They don't do anymore. They're serving the mercantile interests of the companies and the industries they regulate. Most politicians, including Trump, I think President Trump, intended to drain the swamp, but you get into political office and you see an agency like the CIA, which has 20,000 personnel, or NIH, which has even more. At every level of that agency, there are individuals who could commit a civil disobedience to embarrass a president if the president adopts a policy that threatens their power centers. The presidents realize that as soon as they get into office, and they become scared of the agencies, and they become scared of tampering with them, and so they never actually drain the swamp. Instead, they bring in safe people to run them. And if you look at the Trump administration, it was mainly corporations who were then put in charge of the agencies that are supposed to regulate them. And I feel like I'm in a unique position to actually change the corporate culture of these agencies, because I've sued almost every one of them. When you litigate against one of these agencies, you get a PhD in corporate capture. You understand who the individuals are who are corrupt and who have to be moved. I know their names in many cases. So, for example, FDA gets 50% of its budget from the pharmaceutical companies. Of course, they know that they're working for pharma. They're not working for us. NIH has a policy now that was adopted in 1980. Individual scientists who work for NIH can collect royalties on products they regulate. Well, that is crazy. Those are the people that you want finding problems with those products so that we don't get exposed to dangers. But they now are paying for their mortgages, their boats, their alimonies, their children's education. If that product gets to market and generates royalties, they get to keep them, so they have an incentive to close their eyes. I'm not scared to know how they work, and I know who has to be moved, and I'll actually do it. So when I was 18, in Africa, I caught that bird and trained it.
And what's the term for this?
Either falconry or hawking. There, you can see that bird coming to like this. Those are falcons, and that's one of my dogs. And you hunt with the dog and the falcon there.
How do the dog and the falcon interact?
Well, the dog points on the game, and then you put the falcon up. The falcon will go 600, 800, 1,000 feet up, and then you get the dog to flush. When the game gets in the, it's a duck or a pheasant gets in the air, the falcon will drop down at 140 miles an hour and will knock the bird. There's one of the birds you see with the hood on.
You picked up a snake? Were you a little scared when you did that?
No, I've been picking them up my whole life.
Is that you as a boy?
Yeah, that's from me when I was a little kid.
You had nice fashion sense as a kid. Do you plan on bringing hawks or falcons to the White House?
I would probably keep some at Camp David.
Besides your uncle, who would you say is the best U.S. president of all time?
I would say Lincoln was the best, Washington, Franklin Roosevelt.
What do you think of Teddy Roosevelt?
Ulysses Grant. I love Teddy Roosevelt, but he did a lot of sketchy stuff too. I didn't like Reagan's policies, but I like the fact that Reagan was able to inspire Americans and give them a sense of purpose and a sense of greatness.
I think anyone out there watching this in America, they should be excited. They should be ready to contribute. They should be ready to work hard. They should be ready to make this country what it is, because we have had an exceptional country, but a lot of people feel like we're at the edge of a cliff, and some people feel like we actually jumped it off already.
We're off the cliff.
Can we climb back up?
Yeah.
I don't care who you think you're gonna vote for, but as an American, you should be excited to contribute, because together we can build something remarkable. America has been a remarkable place for a long, long time, but there is this common sentiment that we're dipping, but we get to put in the sweat equity and make it a great place and love our family, love our neighbors, love our countrymen, and unite. And I think that's what we're really looking for. Whoever is gonna win in 2024, we need someone that can unite the people and someone that can get that pep back at our step. Like, we're Americans, goddammit. We just got done zipline with Bobby Kennedy. We're gonna go to a fundraising event later tonight. Like I say, this guy, when he speaks, it's packed with information and knowledge and relevance. Just so you can hear everything he's talking about, we're gonna have a lot of clips on the second channel. I mean, it's amazing to think that we could be talking to the next president of the United States. I'm not a guy with a journalist background, just a small run and gun team of passionate people, and here we are talking to an independent that's shaking things up. So thank you guys for the support. I mean, to even be in this position is a dream come true. My impression of Bobby so far is he seems like the guy that can start this lawnmower and start cutting up the snakes that have just infiltrated our government and our agencies to a horrific degree. That to me is probably gonna be one of the biggest factors I think of who I vote for. Who can clean this dog shit that we call our government? Anyways, we'll see you guys at the fundraiser. We're here to Bobby Kennedy fundraiser out in Colorado. It's beautiful out here. One of the big challenges of the campaign will be getting the boomer vote. He's polling really well at under 45, but over 45, not so much. I want to know what he wants to do to capture that vote, and also all these people that are gathered here today. What is it about Bobby Kennedy that is getting them out of their house, rallied up, and excited to be here and openly supporting a guy that some people think is controversial, but other people think is the hope for America? What makes you excited about Robert F. Kennedy?
I grew to view him as an honorable man. I've never felt that way about a politician. I've never felt like somebody they're talking the talk and walking the walk.
Because I believe we need choice, and he stands up for choice. I also love his views on the environment, and I love that he's middle of the road. I like that he's not anti-vaccine, but he actually is about getting informed decisions before making those choices, and then people need choice.
Some candidates have the best spiel, the best pitch, they say all the things you want to hear. For me, I'm always looking for the person, even if I don't agree with everything they say, that what they say is what they mean. And he speaks from his own core convictions, which is why he can go on like these podcasts and like anybody on the street can ask him anything, because he doesn't have to think and manufacture anything. He's speaking purely from his conviction.
Do you think he's the guy that can unite America?
I think it's difficult for America to be united in any context right now. I don't think anybody can be like this notion of the great unifier. And I don't think we should look to politicians to unite us. I think that's like a personal thing. Like, let them go out there and do dry political shit. It's not their job to unite us. Like, that's our job to unite ourselves.
The humility of this man is extraordinary. I believe he is carrying, or is being carried by, a change that's happening, a peaceful change that's happening in the world, where there's a redistribution of power to those who add value.
There's been so much political division, right, left, Democrat, Republican, good, bad. Like it gets exhausting. And then when you see a candidate like Bobby Kennedy, who really just represents the ideals of what America stands for. What's been happening over the last 12, 15, 20 years is, we get a president in, they fill the cabinet and all the positions with the people they like. Then they get out and another president comes in, they fill the position cabinet with the people they like. It becomes this back and forth slinky. Like the needle never moves. And I believe Bobby is the one to really bring people together in a way that we recognize our humanity again.
expressed concerns about the influence of big tech companies on society, including issues related to antitrust, content moderation, and misinformation.
I'm going to stop the censorship, and I'm going to stop the propaganda. A lot of the propaganda is being driven by the intelligence agencies now in this country. The CIA was chartered in 1937. Its charter contains a prohibition against the CIA propagandizing Americans. The CIA was doing that anyway. And in 1973, the American public learned it for the first time. The CIA had an operation called Operation Mockingbird.
Operation Mockingbird refers to a program the CIA began in the 1950s with the mission of manipulating the media to publish false stories and push an anti-communist message. At its peak, the program had over 400 journalists and 25 large media organizations around the world on its payroll to carry out assignments and shape public perception. RFK maintains to this day the CIA is still instrumental in manipulating the American people, as does Republican frontrunner President Trump, who would argue that the intelligence community's alleged suppression of the Hunter Biden's laptop story may have even cost him the 2020 election. Given that Bobby Kennedy believes that the CIA took out his uncle in the 60s and that he has an openly stated mission to give that agency a thorough detox if he's elected, it will be interesting to see how the CIA responds to Kennedy as his polling numbers climb. We're outside the fundraiser. We're here with Pedro, who is a ex-CIA guy and also has a book, Whistleblowing on the CIA, and that's one of Kennedy's big subjects, is cleaning up the CIA so it works for the people. What can you tell us about the inner workings of the CIA that the American people should know about?
The CIA, the creation of the 1947 National Security Act, and its original foundation was to become a center of analysis to keep the president fully informed of world affairs, to avoid another Pearl Harbor type incident. But yet here we are, 2024, and we've had intelligence failure after intelligence failure, and the CIA has failed in its mandate. The reality is it has become just another government bureaucracy that spends a lot of money, despite the fact that they do some good work. We've had significant problems, 1950s, 1960s, going into the 70s, disclosed through the Church Committee about significant abuses of power, CIA basically staging coups, manipulating Americans.
All over Central America especially, but all over the world. How long did you work with the CIA?
I spent 18 years at the CIA, and in my 18 years, I did basically just about everything you can do. I started an analysis, certified as an analyst, President's Daily Briefs, Senior Executive Briefs, briefings to seniors, briefed DCIAs.
What's something in the modern era relevant to people, something they should know about the CIA, or something that you're blowing the whistle on?
The rule of law. If a government agency or a presidential administration does not obey the laws of the land, we're basically becoming a tyrannical form of government. He's pulling votes away from both Trump and Biden. There is no reasoning whatsoever not to give him Secret Service protection.
I've never spoken with an ex-CIA agent before. Happy that I did. And I'm proud that you're with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too. It's 7:30 a.m. We're walking to the Denver Fox News building, and we're gonna catch Mr. Kennedy in action in the morning. His security detail is securing the premises, and I think he's gonna be pulling up shortly. But just people understand each of our candidates, the pressure, the schedule that they are putting themselves through. These guys are 70 and up. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's a Ozempic for most of them or what. Keep in mind, anytime we talk shit about a president, how much they go through on a day-to-day basis, how much they sacrifice their health. If you look at pictures of people before and after their presidency, this job ages you.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? At least we have good weather for you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Let's just get in quick. Get no time.
Yes.
Morning. Morning, gents. Morning.
They said they don't have time, Beth.
Nope.
Yeah.
None? Okay then.
Okay.
Mr. Kennedy, thanks very much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
So your reaction to you not being offered this position, have you heard from the campaigns or from CNN or ABC to ask your plausibility of being on that debate stage?
We are in discussions with CNN. CNN published a list of criteria, 4 criteria for for candidates getting in the debate, and we have shown CNN that we meet all of those criteria. They have now made a public offer, and we're in discussion with CNN now.
That's a wrap. You rocked it. Pleasure. That was great.
Right now you are polling wonderfully with the younger generations, under 45. To win the election, you probably got to win over the baby boomers. How are you going to do that?
Well, I think the baby boomers actually ought to be supporting me because that's the generation that lived through Camelot. They have nostalgia about the Kennedy era, and they really liked me a lot when I was only known as an environmental champion. But that generation also gets its news from MSNBC, from CNN. And if you're living in that information bubble, you're going to have a very low opinion of me. I think my challenge, and I'm winning with young people, I'm winning with independents, I'm doing very well with Hispanics and other demographics. My big challenge is the baby boomers, and in order to reach them, I need to start getting on those networks, and they have not let me on for 15 years. Oh, we're starting to break that fortress. We got one with Aaron Burnett on CNN 2 weeks ago, and last week they let us on MSNBC for a live interview with Harry Melbourne. Well, I'm hoping that that's the beginning of a trend.
Do you feel like you're finally kicking through that door and they're going to have you on, and that's going to be some of the swing factors?
I think that's what we need to do. I think because of my polling numbers, because of my presence in the race, that it's harder and harder for them to deny me a presence on their networks. We'll see.
Kennedy is currently trying to get on the CNN debate stage to face off against Trump and Biden June 27th. As the de facto nominees for the two major parties, Biden and Trump have already been greenlit by CNN to be on the stage. Bobby, however, as an independent candidate, faces two major hurdles to join them on that stage. The first is he has to get 15% or more in 4 national polls. He secured that for 3 polls currently: Marquette Law, Quinnipiac, and CNN's own internal polls, and he needs 1 more to check that box. The second criteria is that he needs to get on the ballot in enough states to constitute over 270 electoral votes, the amount needed to win the election in November. To get on the ballot, an army of volunteers and local experts is needed to get signatures from individual residents of the states before submitting to the state election commissions. For example, in the state of Texas, Team Kennedy turned in over 245,000 signatures to get on the ballot, an expensive and time-intensive task. Due to the strictness of these rules, the Kennedy team has filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission alleging that CNN was colluding with the Biden and Trump teams to keep Bobby off the debate stage. We'll see what CNN, known ops of me and the channel, decide to do, as missing the debates make it nearly impossible for Kennedy to win the election. For Kennedy to get on the stage, he's going to have to get 4 major polls that CNN will accept at 15% or higher. One of the major polls in the country is actually in Milwaukee at Marquette University, so we're going to head there, talk to a guy that runs the polls there, and dig into this issue just a little bit more. Here's what we learned. From your estimation, RFK Jr., is he in the running to be on the debate stage?
Oh, I think he's very much in the running to get on. If we think that he's really running at about 12% support, but you look at 20 different polls, there's a good chance that with the margin of error, some of those 20 will bump over 15%, even if he really is just at 12%.
So there's a great amount in this country that consider CNN to be a propaganda machine, not a trusted source of media. Should Americans trust who they pick from the polls to certify RFK?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the range of pollsters and the way the pollsters try to recruit a random sample of the public is pretty good. I don't think there's much there. When it comes to on air and shows and how questions are framed, not in the poll but in the debate, well, I think that's where you might see the partisan leanings of the hosts of the debate show through.
If RFK does make the debate stage, do you anticipate a great jump in the polls?
It will expose him to a lot of people that haven't yet gotten to know him. As well known as he is, in our polling, it's still around 30% that say they don't know enough about him to have an opinion of him.
I hear you can do some pull-ups and push-ups. I'm excited to meet you at the gym in just a little bit.
We'll see you over there.
We're waiting at a gym. He's gonna pull up. We're gonna get a lift in together. But like, you get to see behind the scenes of the security apparatus. Like everywhere they go, they have to be on their pivot. There's multiple SUVs pulling up, guys in suits, earpieces, and sure enough, he showed up in his jeans. I got a very critical question I gotta confront you on. Some people say the rumors that you skip leg days.
I did leg day yesterday.
You did leg day yesterday?
Yeah, I lift a lot of weight on leg day.
Okay, and what do you got? What do you got today?
I happen to do polls.
I think so. The America we knew in the 1960s is very different than America today as far as fitness, chronic illness, and that's one of your primary things that you want to change about America. Tell me about it.
The chronic disease epidemic is probably the biggest of all the kind of existential crises that we're facing. When my uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease. Today it's 60%. And those are neurological disorders, autoimmune diseases, allergic diseases, and obesity. The cause of it are toxic exposures. So toxic exposures are food, medicines, and our water. And the problem is we have government agencies are supposed to be protecting our health, but instead they have become captured by the industries they're supposed to regulate. The big food industries, by processed food, by the pharmaceutical companies. They'll spend a lot of money studying how to treat diabetes, but they're not going to study what the causes are. When I was a kid, a typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door has diabetes. And nobody's asking why this is happening. Because the reason it's happening are because we're getting mass poisoning. And people are making money both on poisoning us and on treating chronic diseases that result from that poisoning.
Removing a lot of the poison in our food, you think that weight's just going to be shed and that Americans will be a lot more healthy than they are?
I mean, you need lifestyle changes, but the big issue is getting the poison out of our food and getting good nutrition to people. People get sick. We're getting exposed to 1 billion microbes every day. Our body has the capacity from 4 billion years of evolution to fight things off. So it's only sick people who get sick from infectious disease.
Would this be fair to summarize your campaign as this, that it's almost, you're going to be the guy that tries to take the poison out of the government and the poison out of our food and make our government healthy again, make our people healthy again?
And the corruption and this corrupt merger of state and corporate power, and get good food to the American people that, you know, our children are growing up healthy rather than sick.
So what you see on his back is Waterkeeper Alliance. What he's spent a lot of his career as an environmental lawyer doing is prosecuting the companies that would dump into our water supply, our food supply, and he's a big reason why the water quality in New York is better. We go to a lot of the dangerous places in America, a lot of the places that are really struggling, like Pine Ridge Reservation, Kensington, Philadelphia. We've been to Skid Row. We've been to a lot of the places that are really, really struggling right now. How do we bring prosperity back to a lot of the hoods, the reservations, and then some of the rural areas that are just the places that are struggling? How do we impact those spots?
Well, there's different issues. I mean, the biggest issue for homelessness is the housing crisis. There's a direct correlation. California has 50% of the unsheltered homeless in America. Why is that? It's because California has the highest housing prices in America. People say homeless people are drug addicts and mentally ill. A lot of people who are homeless become that way.
So with the hoods, a lot of the problem in the reservations, the rural area, there's no jobs. All the industry is left overseas to Mexico, China, overseas. They used to have booming middle class. How do we get jobs back to those areas?
We have to definancialize our economy and reindustrialize it. We've been exporting our industries for the last 30 years. And, you know, part of that is these big trade agreements that we had that exported American jobs to China and to other parts of the world. And we need to reindustrialize the American economy. And that's what my whole program is about.
We did bring a present for you. I'll show you. I don't know if you can openly wear this in public or if it's even your style, but RIP mainstream media, maybe in the privacy of your home.
Yeah.
We'll give it to your team.
Thank you.
Do you feel like mainstream media has lied to us and has been so manipulated that it is dying? It's in a little bit of a death spiral?
I think the reasons for the death of mainstream media, they're not doing journalism anymore. Journalism means maintaining a posture of fear, skepticism towards authority, towards government, and particularly during COVID. And even before that, they exposed themselves as being propaganda vessels. There was no questioning allowed. There was a lot of censorship of dissenting views. Journalists are supposed to speak truth to power.
This man is a pull-up machine, folks.
You do 50 pull-ups,
100 push-ups,
100 push-ups in 5 minutes.
You got 5 minutes on the dot, didn't you?
No, I didn't. The closest I got was 5 minutes and 20 seconds. I haven't qualified, but I think you could.
It's refreshing to have a candidate that's in shape and active and has a grasp on the outdoors and is physically competent. We don't get a lot of that. Folks back home, if you want to do the Kennedy challenge, 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, See if you can do it in 5 minutes or less. We're gonna make America fit again. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly.
And I approve this message. This man is burning my forearms out. I'm a young buck. I'm up and at it every day of the week. He's doing burnout sets, which my forearms are already feeling it, but I'm not about to be no communist. I'm gonna keep pushing. I got another whopper. One of the major conflicts in the world right now, Israel-Palestine. How do you end that conflict and bring peace back to the world and the region?
I'm against war, and I think over the past 100 years, there's been only one moral war that we fought, which is World War II. All the other ones were wars of choice. In World War II, we were attacked by an implacable enemy that was sworn to the destruction of all of our values, of our sovereignty, of our country. Israel today is in the same position. It was attacked not just on October 7th, for 16 years preceding that, since Hamas took over Gaza. I'm very pro-Palestinian. I've spent a lot of time in Israel with Palestinian friends. I've been in the West Bank. I met with the Palestinian Authority. I have friends in Gaza. And the Palestinians are the chief victims of Hamas. Palestinians have gotten more money from the international community, 10 times the amount of money per capita that we used to rebuild Europe during the Marshall Plan. Money has disappeared because the leadership of Hamas steals it. Ismail Haniyeh, who's the supreme leader of Hamas, has a net worth of $5 billion. They use the other part of the money that they don't steal to buy weapons and to build 300 miles of tunnels. They have hijacked Gaza for the single purpose of destroying Israel. And they say in their charter that it's a crime against Islam to even negotiate with Israel. So I don't see what Israel people are saying we should be demanding a ceasefire, but then what? Israel was in the middle of the ceasefire when they were attacked. It was their 5th ceasefire with Hamas, and every one of those Hamas has used to attack Israel, to do another sprint, to regroup, to rearm, to hoist the banners, and have another attack. I think Israel really only has one choice, which is to destroy Hamas.
I think almost any reasonable person can say Hamas is a bad actor, needs to go. There's also people that are saying, look, we understand why Israel began the attacks, but when we see children being bombed at the rates they are, when we see hospitals being bombed, and almost, I think it's a half the population is homeless now, that Israel has gone too far in their approach.
Well, but why would you blame Israel for that? They're fighting an enemy that deliberately used civilian shields. Nobody wants to attack a hospital. It's a war crime to attack a hospital unless the enemy is using that hospital as a base, which they were. Why are people blaming Israel for attacking a hospital when Hamas put its command centers and its weapons armories in that hospital? Now we need to start pointing the fingers at the people who are responsible for these filthy casualties. If there's a bank robber who grabs his hostage and is firing over the hostage's head at the police and other civilians, the police shoot him and by mistake kill the hostage, who do you blame for that? You blame the police? Oh, you blame the bank robber. So why are we blaming Hamas for what's coming? We shouldn't reward terrorism.
So the onus is on Hamas. They made the attack. They're using their people as shields. If they truly cared about their own Palestinian people, they would end it now.
They would end it or fight a military battle. They have 40,000 troops. Don't hide behind women and children.
It's very cowardly to do.
Yeah, and that's what we should be talking about.
So we just got a channel first, a workout with a presidential candidate. Again, Team Trump, Team Biden, hit us up. We want to do something with you guys too. And let the American people get to know you on more of a human level as well. All right guys, we'll see you at the rally. So folks, we're here at a Kennedy rally. People here are excited. I've never been to a presidential rally. I would love to go to a Trump rally one day. So we're backstage at the Kennedy rally. We got crowd filling up. We had lines out the door. We're gonna see if we can talk to Kennedy in the green room, ask him a couple more questions I think are important to the audience back home. So we'll keep you posted. Good to see you again. One of the questions I really wanted to ask you, for my demographic, a big thing that they're thinking about is I don't think I'm gonna be able to afford a home anymore. What plan do you have so that people my age can get a home in America?
The spear tip of my campaign is to get young Americans into homes. That is an absolute critical first step in rebuilding the American middle class in this country. If you own a home, you care about your community. You care about your police, your firefighters, your schools. You go to the PTA meetings. You care about your neighbors. But more importantly, you have equity. And if you have equity, it means you can borrow money and you can pursue your economic impulse. You have the money you can get a second mortgage on your home. You can use that money to finance a bowling alley or a yoga studio or a sporting goods store or a bar or a restaurant. And this is the way that we created the American middle class in our country. And today we're moving away from that. And part of the reason for that is giant corporations like BlackRock, Blackstone, State Street, and Vanguard are now buying up our houses. Almost 30% of the houses purchased last year were purchased by investors. So they're turning us, and kids your age cannot compete with them for the cost of money. Oh, you hear so many stories from kids your age who put money down in a home or went into escrow or were about to go into escrow or were about to sign a contract, and somebody comes in at the last minute with a cash offer 20% greater than the asking price. And when you figure out who that person is, who's that person bought your home, it's usually an LLC with an ambiguous name, and if you follow the strings back, it leads back to BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, or one of these big Fidelity, one of these big investment houses, and it's impossible for kids your age to get into homes. We need to change that, and I have a whole retinue of programs to make sure that every kid your age who's willing to work hard, who's willing to play by the rules, is going to be able to finance a home and do the other things the American dream always promised us.
How are you going to do that?
One of the things, the reforms that I'm going to make immediately, is to change the tax code and change the law to make it very, very difficult for investment houses to buy single-family homes in our country. And that's what we need to do. There's a bill right now in front of Congress that's going nowhere because we don't have a president that's got behind it that says exactly that. It punishes those companies for purchasing homes and turning them into rental properties. They're turning us from an ownership society to a society of renters. When they do that, they're going to transform Americans from citizens into subjects. Now, I'm going to give everybody in your age a rich uncle, which is Uncle Sam. And then Uncle Sam, the same way we did with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, with them, my uncle did in 1960 with a 3% loan program. We don't have to further burden the debt. We can issue treasury bills at 3% interest rates that are zero tax.
We've both been to the border. We've seen the impact of fentanyl on American communities. Is securing the border important to you, and how would you do it?
Yeah, I'm going to secure the border. There's three things that we need to do to secure the border. One is change of policy. We need to reinstate the Migrant Protection Act, which requires people who have claims that their lives are in danger, that they adjudicate those claims in Mexico before they come into the United States. The other is to change the catch and release program back to catch and return program. We also need infrastructure changes. We need to plug the 27 gaps in the wall. We don't need a wall all the way from Brownsville, Texas, 2,200 miles to San Diego. That you need a physical structure in the urban areas where migrants could quickly disappear. So there's 27 gaps in the wall that were left in the Trump wall, and I will fill those gaps. And then third is personnel. We need to put about 300 asylum court judges on the border so they can quickly adjudicate asylum claims. We need to fill up depletions in the Border Patrol. And I will do all those things as soon as I get into office.
I want to say it's been an absolute honor to meet you, cover your campaign. It's exciting to see that change is possible in this country. I'm rooting for you. It's just a blessing to be here, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for doing this. I'm still awestricken by your 30 pull-ups this morning. I now have a role model and a goal in life. So come back in a year and I should be at 32.
That sounds good.
I said this last year, if you give me a sword and some ground to stand on, I will win your country back for you. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all very, very much.
So folks, that was a look into the campaign of Bobby Kennedy. We got to know the man, we got to work out with him, see a rally. It was very interesting. And folks, as an American, you get to pick the person that you think is the best leader for this country. So whether you think that's Trump, Biden, or Bobby, I encourage you to exercise your right as a citizen to vote. I think we all can agree we want a great place for everybody, and pick the guy that you think is going to do that. If you think Bobby is that guy, you can donate to his campaign. The link is in my description. And the Biden team, Trump team, hope to hear from you. Thank you guys for joining me on this episode. We'll see you next week. Peace. Folks, hope you enjoyed this episode. You want to watch another? Here. You want to subscribe? Over here. See you next week.